Yes, I love this land. It takes my breath away.
Hi, welcome to Texas 10. I'm Steve.
And I'm M'Lissa. And today I think we need to talk about a piece of culture. We need to talk about the movies.
The movies.
Yes. I think going to the movies is a great pastime. In fact, we've been going to the movies since we were kids.
We have.
And Texas has great movies. In fact, one of my first memories of our early dating time was you, me, and Matthew Peterson went to the Almas Theater to see a movie. And yes, we did sneak in beer in my empty purse.
That's maybe a little much more information, but I'm sure Matt remembers that. Shout out to Matt, who really taught us a love for movies. The Almas is in San Antonio. It was on San Pedro Avenue, and it was just a great theater, and it really evokes memories. So as we've traveled across Texas, I've made it a point to take as many pictures as I can of great old movie theaters. Some of them have been restored beautifully. Some of them need to be restored. But this week, our Instagram post our Insta is at Texas 10 Podcast. You can see some of those pictures.
Yeah, the movie theaters are just beautiful. And not only do we have beautiful movie theaters, and back in the day, that was such a great pastime. I know my mom talked about during the Depression going to the movies. And it made us think about what are some iconic Texas films?
Well, I'm going to start that list with one of my absolute favorites, The Last Picture Show.
Oh, what a great movie.
Which is built, the title obviously refers to another movie, which is The Last Picture Show being shown there. And so the movie itself is set in the town of Anarene. The book that it comes from, Larry McMurtry's great book, the town is Thalia, but the real town where Larry McMurtry grew up is Archer City, and we've been to Archer City.
Right. We drove out to Archer City really before we started this project because we had been talking about, he had a bookstore there, and we wanted to go see it. We love Larry McMurtry books. And so we went out to see it, and I walked down those streets and I felt like I was in the movie. I was waiting for that tumbleweed to blow across the street.
Well, so Larry McMurtry in his writing and Peter Bogdanovich in his direction, if there's anybody that's ever nailed, this is what it's like to be there, they nailed it in The Last Picture Show.
It really did. And you need to go to Archer City because you have stepped into the film.
Right. And so, but one of the things that's interesting, it's the Royal Theater in, and they have a mock-up sort of it there. In the movie itself, the last picture that was shown at the Royal Theater was Red River by John Wayne.
Oh, and I loved John Wayne movies. I grew up watching them.
Well, and so John Wayne, he's not a Texan, but he was sort of an archetype of a Texan. It's like we all think we're John Wayne, right? You go to Fort Worth, there's the John Wayne Museum right next to the rodeo arena. And so he made The Searchers, he made Red River, and he made The Alamo in 1960, which he produced, directed. It was sort of his passion project. And it's not necessarily historically accurate, but it really does talk a lot about Texas.
And do you remember going to, what was the name of the town that had the closed movie theater?
So in Paducah, Texas.
And they had on the marquee as the movie, The Red River.
Red River, sort of as a nod to The Last Picture Show. So that, movie people, they do those little things. There's always little Easter eggs that you can find. But that one's right out in the open. And so Texas has this tradition because it's a very cinematic place, both the landscape and the stories of these big stories, really big stories. And probably the most famous is Giant. It says it's big right in the title.
Well, Giant, and if you go out to Marfa, all of the actors stayed in the Paisano Hotel. And we stayed in the Paisano Hotel. And, I thought, am I in Elizabeth Taylor's room? Or, maybe I'm in, where's my head?
Rock Hudson's
room? But no, really.
You were in James Dean's room.
I would rather be in James Dean's room.
Well, you were with a guy that looked like James Dean.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Sort of.
So, Giant itself, the movie, is based on a legendary Texas wildcatter by the name of Glenn McCarthy. He was out of Houston, but he at one time was one of the richest people in the world, and he had these just crazy ups and downs in the business world. He did the Shamrock Hotel in Houston, which at the time it opened, it was just something out of this world. Edna Ferber wrote the novel Giant, and it was just thinly disguised about Glenn Murphy. He was the Jet Rink character from the movie. And so it told a just fantastic story, very Texan story. But one of the interesting things about it is I said he had ups and downs. He ended up down. He ended up living in just a small house in very suburban Houston and leading a very ordinary life his last 20 or 30 years. And sort of mirror to that is more recently the great Texas films have been more slice of life films as opposed to the huge stories. And the guy that's the best at it is Richard Linklater.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's done different ones. Maybe one of my favorites is about high school life, Dazed and Confused.
Oh, Matthew McConaughey. In fact, that is the quintessential high school movie. Not quite the big screen like a Giant is, but all of us who've grown up in Texas can certainly relate to the film.
All right.
And then there's the mural that Matt Tomlinson did out in Rankin with Matthew McConaughey from that movie.
So Matthew has become sort of iconic. I mean, he's an Oscar winner for Dallas Buyers Club, another great movie, slice of life about Texas in the 80s. But Richard, he did that. He did Slacker, which describes sort of Austin culture.
Right, Boyhood.
Boyhood, which is just one of my absolute favorites. It's about growing up in Texas.
You'll cry.
But probably the one that grabs people's attention the most is one you're familiar with because your family's from East Texas, is Bernie.
Oh my goodness. When I saw Bernie for the first time, I really thought the people in the movie were my relatives. I could relate 110%. Recently, we went to Carthage and I had to find the funeral home. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
And you know what? It's a beautiful funeral home.
It really
It was
is.
very impressive. And that's part of Bernie's persona. So there's that. And I think all of those slice of life things sort of got kicked off with one of my favorites, Bud and Sissy.
Oh, you know what? You gotta love John Travolta in
Urban Cowboy.
Gosh, what is wrong with me? I'm a little slow today. But love Urban Cowboy. It's about Gillies in Pasadena, and they really captured the honky tonk stories. And Bud and Sissy were in love and didn't have any money, and it's very, very Texan.
Struggles of ordinary people.
Right.
And that's been, and so I'm going to say that recently, this is one that's off a little beaten path. It got fairly good box office. It was in 2 years ago, I think. It's an R.J. Novak show called Vengeance. And it's about how New Yorkers sort of view Texans as he goes out to do a podcast about a true crime podcast about something that happened in West Texas, and he finds out Texans aren't really as they're perceived, and I really enjoyed that.
And one that always touches my heart is Terms of Endearment. I love that movie.
And so there's Deborah Winger again,
and Shirley MacLaine.
Right.
And you'll cry and you'll laugh, and it's in Houston, and you can drive through River Oaks in Houston, and it's fun to drive through the places where some of these films have been made.
No question. And so that one's got Jack Nicholson as the astronaut in it, which segues to one of my favorites, Apollo 13.
Yeah.
And one of the most famous movie lines ever is, "Houston, we have a problem." And of course, that refers to Houston, Texas.
Well, NASA's right outside Houston.
Right.
So.
And so all of those go to show, I think there's a wide variety of great Texas movies. They, for a long time, have been shown in great theaters, and we encourage you to go to the theaters to watch those movies. But when you're driving through smaller towns or even bigger ones, we were talking off camera about some of the great theaters in San Antonio, the Majestic and the Empire and the Aztec and the Broadway still there. Mm-hmm. Sadly, the Almas is gone.
It's gone.
Right.
But, we have our favorite Texas films. We would love for you to go to our Instagram account, texas10.com, and vote. You can vote on what... on our favorites, but we'd also love to hear what your favorite Texas films are. So we hope you will continue to join us on Texas 10 and tell us your favorite movie in this case. Have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day. And Matt, let's hear what your favorite Texas movie is too. Thanks.
And I love this land. Oh, it takes my breath away. From the Palo Duro to the Gulf Coast plain, from the heart of the hill country to the piney wood shade. I love this land. It takes my breath away.